The bag was still warm when Adaora found it on her doorstep. Not the warmth of sunlight or fabric left in a hot room. The warmth of something alive. Something breathing. It sat there like an offering, wrapped in deep purple cloth with golden thread woven through it in patterns that seemed to move when she looked directly at them. Beautiful. Expensive. The kind of bag wealthy women carried to ceremonies. But Adaora wasn't wealthy. She lived alone in a small house at the edge of Yumuk village, teaching primary school children for barely enough money to feed herself. She hadn't ordered anything. No one visited her except her students and their parents. She bent down to touch it, and the bag pulsed under her fingers like a heartbeat. She yanked her hand back, her heart racing. "Don't touch that." Adaora spun around. An old woman stood at the edge of her compound, ancient, bent like a question mark. Her wrapper faded to the color of old bones. Adaora had never seen her before. "I'm sorry, Ma. Do you know whose bag this is?" The old woman's eyes were clouded with cataracts, but they seemed to see everything. "It's yours now. It was left for you. Left for me." "By who?" "By someone who knows what you desire most." The old woman stepped closer, moving with surprising speed despite her bent frame. "But you must never open it. Do you understand? Never." "Why? What's inside?" "Everything." The old woman's voice was a whisper that somehow filled the entire compound. "Everything you want. Everything you need. Everything you've been praying for. But the price?" She shook her head slowly. "The price is more than you know." Adaora felt a chill despite the afternoon heat. "Then why was it left here? Why give me something I can't use?" "To test you," the old woman said simply. "To see if you can resist. To see if you're stronger than your desires. And if I open it." The old woman's face went grave. "Then you'll understand why some gifts are really curses. Why some blessings come with chains. Why some answered prayers are actually punishments." She turned to leave, then paused. "The bag will call to you. It will whisper. It will promise. But remember, the moment you open it, you belong to it. Not the other way around." "Wait," Adaora called. "What's your name? How do I find you if—" But the old woman had vanished. Not walked away, vanished. Like she'd never been there at all. Adaora stood alone in her compound, staring at the purple bag on her doorstep, feeling its warmth radiating toward her like a living thing waiting to be acknowledged. She should have thrown it away. Should have burned it. Should have buried it in the forest where no one would ever find it. Instead, she picked it up and carried it inside. For 3 days, Adaora left the bag untouched. She placed it in the corner of her bedroom, covered it with a cloth, and tried to forget about it. But forgetting was impossible. A night she heard it. Not sounds exactly. More like whispers at the edge of hearing. Promises spoken in a language she didn't understand but somehow comprehended perfectly. Wealth, respect, love. Everything you've ever wanted. She would wake up in the middle of the night to find herself standing over the bag. Her hand reaching for the zipper. Her mind foggy with desire. Each time, she'd pull back at the last second, her heart pounding, the old woman's warning echoing in her mind. But resisting was getting harder, because the bag knew her secrets, knew her shame. Adaora was 32 and unmarried. In a village where women were considered incomplete without husbands and children, she was a failure. Her younger sisters had all married. Her cousins had children. Even her former students were getting engaged. She came home every evening to an empty house, cooked for one, slept alone, woke up to silence. The bag knew this, and it whispered solutions. "Open me, and you'll never be alone again." On the 4th day, her mother visited. "Adaora, I'm worried about you," Mama said, settling into the only good chair in the small parlor. "You're not getting younger. When will you bring a man home?" "Mama, please. Don't Mama please me. Your father and I won't be here forever. Who will take care of you when we're gone? Who will give you children? You're already past your prime." Each word landed like a stone on Adaora's chest. "I'm trying, Mama. It's not like men are lining up. Because you're too proud, too educated. Men don't want a woman who thinks she's smarter than them." Her mother stood to leave. "Humble yourself, Adaora, or you'll die alone in this house." After Mama left, Adaora sat in the gathering darkness and felt the bags pull stronger than ever. "She's right, you know. You will die alone, unless you open me." That night, Adaora stood over the bag for an hour, her hand on the zipper, her mind at war with itself. The old woman had said never to open it, had warned about prices and curses and chains. But the old woman wasn't here. Wasn't the one facing a lifetime of loneliness and shame. Wasn't the one whose own mother looked at her with disappointment. Adaora's fingers tightened on the zipper. Just a peek. Just to see what was inside. That wasn't really opening it, was it? She pulled the zipper halfway. The bag exhaled. Not air, something else. Something that smelled like flowers and rot at the same time. Something that made her eyes water and her stomach turn. But she couldn't stop now. Her hand moved on its own, pulling the zipper the rest of the way. The bag fell open. Inside was a mirror. Just a mirror. Small, round, framed in what looked like bone. Nothing magical. Nothing dangerous. Just a mirror reflecting her face in the dim lamplight. Adaora laughed. A sound that was half relief, half disappointment. All that build-up. All those warnings. For a mirror. She reached in to pull it out. The moment her fingers touched the glass, everything changed. The mirror was ice cold. No, colder than ice. So cold it burned. Adaora tried to let go, but her hand was frozen to the surface, her skin adhering to the glass like metal in winter. And then the mirror showed her something that wasn't her reflection. It showed her a house. Beautiful. Large. The kind of house important people lived in. And standing in front of it was Adaora. But not as she was now. This Adaora wore expensive clothes. Gold jewelry. Her skin glowed. Her smile was confident. And beside her stood a man. Handsome. Successful looking. His arm around her waist. Looking at her with love and admiration. This could be you, the mirror whispered. This will be you. If you accept. Accept what? Adaora's voice came out strangled, desperate. The exchange. Your solitude for companionship. Your poverty for wealth. Your shame for respect. All you have to do is agree. What's the price? Adaora remembered the old woman's warning. What do I have to give? The image in the mirror shifted. Now she saw herself again, but older. Much older. Alone in a massive house. Wealthy but hollow. Surrounded by beautiful things but touching none of them. Her face was a mask of permanent sorrow. The price is simple, the mirror said. You get everything you want now. But you lose the ability to want anything else. You'll have the husband, the house, the money, the respect. But you'll never feel joy from them. Never feel love. Never feel satisfaction. You'll spend the rest of your life in a prison of answered prayers. That's not fair. You're giving me everything but making it worthless. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for. You wanted to not be alone. You'll have people around you always. You wanted wealth. You'll have more money than you can spend. You wanted respect. The whole village will bow to you. But you never asked for happiness. You never asked for fulfillment. You never asked for peace. And those, the mirror's voice turned cold, those are not included in the package. Adaora tried to pull her hand away, but the mirror held tight. I don't accept. I don't want it. Let me go. Too late, the mirror said. The bag is open. Your hand is on the glass. The exchange has begun. Adaora screamed. When Adaora woke up, she was lying on her bedroom floor. The bag tipped over beside her. The mirror face down on the ground. For a moment, she thought it had been a nightmare. Just a terrible dream brought on by stress and her mother's harsh words. Then she heard voices outside. Laughter. The sound of construction. She stumbled to her window and gasped. Her small house was gone. In its place stood a mansion. 2 stories, painted in cream and gold, with a gate and a garden and people working on the grounds. Workers she didn't recognize. A house she'd never owned. She looked down at herself. She was wearing a silk nightgown she'd never bought. Her hands, when she raised them, were adorned with rings and bracelets she'd never owned. No, she whispered. No, no, no. A knock on the bedroom door. Darling, are you awake? A man's voice. Affectionate. The door opened and he walked in, the same man from the mirror. Handsome. Confident. He came to her and kissed her forehead. Good morning, my wife. Did you sleep well? Adaora's mouth opened, but no words came out. This man, this stranger, thought he was her husband. Are you all right? He looked concerned. You look pale. I don't feel well. Should I call the doctor? He was already reaching for his phone. An expensive phone, the latest model. No, I just need. I need to be alone for a moment." He nodded, kissed her forehead again and left. The moment the door closed, Adaora ran to the mirror, still lying on the floor. She picked it up and it was just a mirror now. Cold glass. No whispers. No visions. Just her reflection. But that reflection showed the truth the rest of the world couldn't see. In the mirror, her eyes were empty. Hollow. Like someone had scooped out everything essential and left only the shell. She had everything. And she felt nothing. 3 months passed in this new reality. Adaora's life was perfect on paper. Her husband, Emeka, was a successful businessman. Kind. Attentive. He brought her gifts, took her to expensive restaurants, showed her off to his friends. The mansion was everything she'd dreamed of. 4 bedrooms. A kitchen with every modern appliance. A garden with a fountain. House help who cooked and cleaned. The village respected her now. When she walked through the market, people greeted her with reverence. "Good afternoon, Madam Adaora. Such a blessed woman. Look how God has elevated her." Her mother visited weekly now, beaming with pride. "You see, I knew you just needed to be patient. Look at you now, married to a rich man, living in a mansion. I'm so proud of you." But inside, Adaora was screaming. Because the mirror had told the truth. She had everything and felt nothing. When Emeka kissed her, it was like being touched by a mannequin. She knew she should feel something. Love, desire, even simple affection. But there was nothing. Just emptiness. When she ate the delicious meals her cook prepared, they tasted like ash. She would chew and swallow mechanically, feeling no pleasure, no satisfaction. When people praised her, their words slid off her like water off glass. She smiled. She said thank you. But inside she felt nothing. She was living in a beautiful prison, and she was the only one who knew she was trapped. At night, she would take out the mirror and stare at her reflection, seeing the truth everyone else was blind to. "Please," she would whisper to it. "Please let me go. I was wrong. I was foolish. I don't want this anymore." But the mirror never answered. It had already taken its payment. The breaking point came on her birthday. Emeka threw a massive party. The entire village was invited. There was food, music, dancing. Everyone celebrated the woman who had everything. Adaora sat at the center of it all, dressed in expensive lace, wearing jewelry that cost more than her old house. People toasted her, praised her, envied her, and she felt nothing. She looked around at the celebration and realized, this was hell, not fire and brimstone. But this, having everything you thought you wanted and discovering it was worthless. Being surrounded by people and feeling utterly alone. Living a life that looked perfect but felt like death. She excused herself, went to her bedroom and pulled out the bag. Still hidden in her closet, still warm to the touch. "I want to undo it," she said to the empty room. "Whatever the cost. I want to go back." The bag pulsed once, twice. Then the zipper began to open on its own. The old woman stepped out of the bag. Not from behind it. Not through the door. She stepped out of the bag itself, as if it were a doorway to somewhere else. "You called," the old woman said. Adaora fell to her knees. "Please. You were right. I was wrong. Price is too high. I don't want this life. I want to go back. Back to poverty. Back to shame. Back to loneliness. Yes, at least those feelings were real. At least I could feel something." Tears streamed down Adaora's face. "This is worse than anything you warned me about. I'm living but I'm not alive. I'm surrounded by people but I'm more alone than ever. Please, please help me." The old woman studied her for a long moment. "Breaking the exchange requires a sacrifice. Anything. I'll give anything. Everything you've gained must be returned. The husband, the wealth, the respect, all of it gone in an instant. You'll go back to exactly what you were, with one difference. You'll remember all of this. You'll remember having it and losing it. Can you live with that?" Adaora nodded without hesitation. "Yes. Better to have lost something real than to keep something empty." The old woman smiled. A real smile, warm and sad at the same time. "You've learned the lesson. You understand now that some blessings are curses, and some curses are blessings. You're ready to be free." She placed her hand on Adaora's forehead. Everything went black. Adaora woke up on the floor of her small house. Her real house, the bag tipped over beside her. But this time the bag was empty. The mirror was gone. The purple cloth had turned gray and threadbare. She stood up slowly, looking around. Her tiny parlor, her worn furniture, her simple life. And for the first time in months, or had it been years, time had moved strangely in that other reality. She felt something. Relief. Gratitude. She walked outside into the morning sun. Her small compound. Her modest life. Her solitary existence. And she smiled. A real smile that came from somewhere deep inside. 'Cause she was free. She was poor, yes. She was alone, yes. But she could feel again. Could want again. Could hope again. That afternoon, her mother visited. "Adaora, I'm worried about you," Mama began with the same words as before. "You're not getting younger." "Mama," Adaora interrupted gently. "I'm happy. Right now, in this moment, I'm happy. Isn't that enough?" Her mother looked shocked. "But you're alone." "I'm alone, but I'm alive. I'm poor, but I'm free. And I'm learning that sometimes the greatest blessing is wanting what you have instead of having what you want." Her mother left confused, probably thinking Adaora had finally gone mad. But Adaora didn't care. She sat in her small house, ate her simple meal and felt every bite. Tasted the salt, savored the flavor, felt grateful for food that nourished and satisfied. That night, she found a note on her doorstep, written in handwriting that seemed to fade even as she read it. Some bags should never be opened. Some warnings should always be heeded. But you learned. You chose freedom over comfort, truth over illusion. And that is worth more than all the wealth in the world. Remember, the things you think you want may not be the things you need. And the life you think is small may actually be perfect. Adaora kept that note for the rest of her life. Reminder. Lesson. A warning she would eventually pass on to others. And the bag. She buried it deep in the forest where no one would ever find it. 'Cause some gifts are really curses. And some curses are the greatest gifts of all.